So I just got to the first major car show of the season. It's a DTP Racewars event at the Benton County Fairgrounds. And I figured I'd do a little bit of a different video. I'm gonna put my GoPro on my camera and just kind of show how I do some event photography. I'm here for the total show coverage. So I'm gonna be going around getting photos of all of the cars and just setting the scene for the event. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you like this style, let me know and I can try to do more as the season moves on. Yeah, so getting right into it. One of the things I want to try to do more of this year is get more people in my shots. So I've been going around trying to talk to people and just get more of that environment, the people, their cars. I think it's just going to help me get my photos to the next stage beyond just cars in a parking lot, or in this case on a grass lot. And then really I start by just getting out and walking around. Obviously I'm going to focus on BMWs, being a mostly BMW channel. Interestingly, I took a photo of this car twice at 2 different times in the day. So you'll have to decide which of the 2 sets here you like better. The conditions do change throughout the day, and that shot being a little bit closer to the shade made a big difference. One other thing I try to do is vary the number of cars in my photos. So this group rolled in together and I was taking photos of the set from one angle and then walked across, got a couple individual ones here, and then on the far side I shot back. And I think what I was trying to do here was really get a good representation of the overall show. So I'm on the, I guess, the edge of the show. So I think this next shot works out pretty well because I get this lineup here and then you can see kind of how crowded it's getting with the rest of the show behind this set of cars. Again, what I do a lot of for some of the cars in these shows, just because it is kind of a condensed environment, is I was taking a lot of photos straight on and trying to get the car in a symmetric angle in the photo. And you got to work some of the details on the car. For me, for this car, I decided to focus more so on the engine just because it is so unique. So really what I ended up doing was probably walking around the show, well, I don't know, at least 10 times, just trying to see different angles. I think each time I walk past a car, I might think about it a little bit differently. Or as I'll show later, I do switch my lens occasionally. But really, I'm just trying to get a full coverage of this show, get a little bit of everybody who shows up. Some cars catch my eye and I go focus on them. Other ones, I just kind of float by throughout the day and I grab photos as I can. What I actually ended up doing, there were a handful of lifted trucks. This one's kind of set up for off-road, like a trophy truck style, but I was doing a lot of below the headlights with a wide angle just to make the trucks look more imposing in the photos. And I think it worked out for the handful of shots that I did for this truck and some others later on. And I will probably throughout the day pick, I don't know, 5 or so cars that I really focus on and try to do like a full mini set. This Subaru here, right-hand drive, caught my eye. It was super clean. And I joked around saying that this was my pick of the show. But what I really try to do is then, identify a few cars and take a lot more photos, just kind of showcasing the interesting qualities of that car. In this case, like I said, the right-hand drive, steering wheel, trying to get some extra detail shots on that. I guess one of the interesting things about being a show on grass is that when you do get super low cars, just kind of an interesting look to see the grass kind of overcoming the the wheels or the front valence lips. So I did try to focus on that on the cars that were planted in the ground. Like in this case, I tried to get the grass going over the edge of the wheels. I just think it's kind of a unique shot that you normally wouldn't get in like a parking lot car show. And typically I do get here pretty early so I can go try to find cars coming in, or in this case, a car over on the edge of the show. You can kind of work your lens to isolate this car, this S2K. I actually did a couple angles, a few photos from above just to try to see if it looked a little bit different in the actual camera. It's empty. I don't really have any close distractions behind it. There's a school and some trees back there. And I think you can work the depth of field and kind of get a nicer photo. So you gotta kind of time some of these photos right and get it before the show fills in. Come early, stay late, get the shots that you want. Trying to get people both setting up and the cars rolling in. I was hoping that this Hummer photo would work out, but in the end I didn't really like how it turned out, so I didn't actually end up sending it on. But what I did do, I saw a handful of cars rolling in together, and again, these cars, you don't normally see them driving on grass, so I just thought it was an interesting photo to get them cruising along. So I posted up here and got a few cars rolling in together, and I just think they look nice, and they're a little bit different than just your standard parked next to each other kind of photo. And as you can probably see from my before and after photos, I'm not really doing a ton of editing on any of these, just kind of working the lighting a little bit. I'm not doing any crazy color grading or anything like that. Typically, I think I ended up with a little over 200 photos of all of the cars here. So I kind of batch my photo editing and then make some minor tweaks to fit the conditions. This Camaro over here ended up winning Best in Show, so I'm glad I got a few photos of that so that the winner can also have some photos to go with the awards. And again, here's another truck that I took a handful of photos of, trying to get a little bit lower and making the truck look bigger in the frame. Obviously it's already a large truck to begin with. And the Subaru and I think it's a Ford Focus next to it, I also took some photos of that. And that was an interesting one because I take them now. I took the photos now. I had an 18 to 35 millimeter lens on, but again, later on I had a 70 to 200. So I kind of have photos of both of those cars at both lenses, and I like the way that here's shown the 70 to 200 from a pretty far distance back. Just makes a better photo, but you do need to kind of time the conditions right to get that done. And luckily, all of these lifted trucks came in together, so they parked kind of on the edge of the show where they had their own area. I find it a little difficult to get good angles of these trucks, so what I ended up doing was kind of getting group shots of them, or I think they work really well with like a symmetric front on, whereas I've been doing with that kind of wide angle down below. But again, a group shot kind of works out nice. And I'm only putting a few examples on screen of the photos I've taken, but definitely took a lot more than what I'm showing here. I can actually go ahead and put the link in the description to my SmugMug page that has all of the photos if you want to go ahead and look through that and see kind of what other photos I've taken or what other detail shots I might have collected from this day. One thing I will do, I will take, just the photos as I'm moving through. Typically, if somebody comes up to me and talks to me about their car, I'll go back and spend a little bit more time grabbing a few more shots. Generally, after talking to some of the owners, they point out some details that I might not have noticed or something that they're really proud of with their car. So I always try to go back and make sure to capture anything that people talk to me about. And I think that's a good way of kind of connecting with the owners and just seeing all of the different unique aspects of people's rides. Just a little bit of kind of difficult conditions for this day. Most of the time it was, nice lighting. We had a little bit it's not even like full shade. It's just kind of this dappled light, which I really don't enjoy shooting through. Some dead tree, or I guess not dead, but some pre-season trees back here causing some harsh light. And then the sun was pretty low on the horizon, so it made some bad glares occasionally. So you just kind of have to work around that. Luckily, typically one side of the car is going to look nicer than the other, depending on where the sun is. So you just kind of have to identify that spot. And I was here for so long, I could kind of come back when the sun moved a little bit to get rid of some of the glare on like the windshield, or if a car was heavily chromed, you could kind of work around that. And this is how far back I was for that 70-200 shot of the Subaru and the Ford Focus next to it. In a crowded car show, it's a little bit more difficult to get these done, but you just have to be patient and time it right. And of course, cars are coming and going all day long for these kind of events, so that's why I'm constantly just walking around. This truck here I did really like, but it didn't show up until pretty late in the event, so I was glad to do some late rounds through the show, and I was able to grab some photos of it. Just before wrapping up kind of the coverage of the show, I want to show some of my favorite photos from the day. Like I said, I was trying to get more people in my photos, so I would go around and ask people if I could take photos of them as they were cleaning their car and getting it ready for the show. Also, there were a lot of dogs at this show, so I talked to the owners, learned about their dogs, and got some photos. Some dogs cooperated a lot easier than others, but still a good collection of dog photos. And then I would say that this photo is going to be my favorite from the show. We've seen this car at other events, but this is the first time I can remember it with kind of the anime lines drawn on it. And I just think the photo worked out really nice, and it's a unique ride here. So there we go. That was my favorite photo of the day, and that should conclude the photo coverage from this event. So I'm back after the car show. Pretty good turnout and a pretty diverse collection of cars. Hopefully it was interesting to see how I kind of photograph some of the event. When there are so many cars and I am working to get the coverage of the full event, a lot of the times it does feel like the same angles, kind of the same shots, trying to get everybody's car in kind of that collection. So hopefully there are some little details here and there that you can pull out of the cars, or maybe switch up the angles, or how many cars you get in a shot, to just change it up throughout the set. But yeah, pretty good event, and I think there's going to be a few more over this summer, so hopefully I can continue showing how I photograph these events. Thanks for watching.